Hey, what's going on everybody? FullFrontage here today, bringing you all a Clash mini video, and in today's video we're going to be talking about my balance change wish list. This is what I want to see changed for the next one for sure. And if you, as always, if you have any thoughts about the balance changes that I suggest or different ones that you might suggest, let me know down in the comment section below, because it is varying from level to level. Like, I can see some level 10 champions, and then I also have some mid-level champions that I queue up against with my mid-level champions, and I can kind of see what should be changed and what shouldn't be. But again, this is only my perspective. Of course, you guys might have different ones, so please feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below. But let's get started. So the first one, we're going to talk about heroes first. The first one I want to see change is the Archer Queen. At level 10, the Archer Queen is superior to her versus lower levels. So what I would like to see is have the boast ability at level 10 only affecting the main arrow, and then at lower levels maybe scale up her attack damage per level up. Or not attack damage, but the attack speed. The attack speed that she has outside of the rage, maybe that scales up just slightly more at lower levels, and then hits that cap at level 10, and then the boast will only target the main arrow instead of targeting 3 arrows, because 3 arrows is a lot. Like, she dishes a lot of damage. She dishes 1 damage per arrow, and then on top of that she gets a boast that is insanely strong. I think the boast should only affect 1 arrow, and that should be the main arrow, and then for lower levels have her attack speed scale up more per level, so that she has a little bit of a quicker attack speed at lower levels to make her a bit better and more balanced in the medium low level range. So that's my thought for Archer Queen. For the Barbarian King, I think the healing should be from Iron Fist should be reduced to 2 from 4. Other than that, I think the Barbarian is okay. I think his level 10 ability is fine. I think his stats are fine. I just think the healing is slightly a bit too strong, so maybe reducing it to 2 or even 3. I don't know how it would play around, but definitely reducing the healing. But other than that, I think the Barbarian King is perfectly fine. Then for the Monk, I think the Mystic Palm, which you get at level 5, it's a Clash ability, and it starts, and you immediately get 3 energy. You need 8 energy to charge up the Monk super. I think that should be changed from a Clash ability to a boast ability. So when the Monk defeats an enemy, it starts with 3 energy immediately, because sometimes the Monk will target a unit that has like 2 HP left, and it'll use its fist, and then it's basically useless, right? Like, at that point you're just like, well, I have a full health Pekka next to it, and instead it's targeting a 2 hit point giant skeleton. So maybe the Mystic Palm becomes a boast ability, so that when it does take down an enemy, it gets +3 energy. Maybe that's a good way to tweak that, and maybe that might make the Monk a little bit more better and feel less bad when you waste your super on to a very low health target. Next up is the Shield Maiden. Its willpower at level 10 is a boast, and it gets +1 energy. I think it should be much like the Royal Champion. When the Royal Champion takes down an enemy with her shield, she immediately gets to throw another shield. So maybe with the Shield Maiden, when the Shield Maiden takes down an ability, it reactivates the shield. And then maybe you tune down the duration of the shield time if it appears to be too strong, with that being the willpower at level 10 ability for the Shield Maiden, because the Shield Maiden is pretty good right now, but I feel like her level 10 ability is useless. So maybe tweak the duration of the shield, but make the level 10 ability, when she takes down a boast, when she takes down an enemy, she just reactivates her shield, and it can stay in a shorter time and things like that. I think that might make the Shield Maiden worth leveling up outside of just the stats. Like, her level 10 ability really doesn't do much right now. And then the Countess. I think the Countess is probably the weakest hero out of them all. So I wouldn't really change anything with her abilities. What I think is her attack speed should be increased at lower levels, and then scale up and then buff it a little bit more at level 10. Not too much more, but a little bit more. So that way the Countess has a little bit of a quicker attack speed. And by this, so like for example, at level 5, her new attack speed would be 1 attack per second, 1.4 attacks per second. And then it would scale up to level 10 at 1.65, which is 0.1 more than she currently has. I think that would be a good change for the Countess to kind of make her a little bit more meta. Next up, we're going to talk about the minis. We have the Barbarian. The Barbarian base attack speed should be decreased to 0.5 from 0.6. In the last round of balance changes, it had a base HP increase and a base attack speed increase from 0.4 to 0.6. I think 0.5 for the Barbarian attack speed would probably be a good middle ground for that, because it went from really not used to pretty much an essential mini to have in every deck. So just tweak that base attack speed, and I think it might fit a little bit more balanced, feel a little bit more balanced. Next up is going to be the Battle Healer. The Battle Healer, pretty much the same thing. She had a really low attack speed, then it got increased in the last one. Just tweak it down from the 0.6 that it is to the 0.5. Same thing with the Barbarian. Tweak those attack speeds and it'll probably feel pretty balanced. Next up is going to be the Valkyrie. The Valkyrie is interesting because she's a 3 elixir tank and deals 2 damage per attack versus 1 damage per attack like most other mini tanks. And I think the Valkyrie's base HP is pretty low. Base HP is 8. I think the base HP should be 10, and that would probably make the Valkyrie a lot more viable and make people want to play her a lot more, because she's not terrible, but she's not in the meta, and I think having slightly more hit points would make her a bit more meta. So I would suggest increasing her base HP from 8 to 10. Next up would be the Healing Ranger. The Healing Ranger is probably the worst mini in the game by far. I would increase its base HP to 7. It's currently 6, so just increase it by 1. And then have its base attack speed increase to 0.6 from 0.5, so that way it gets a little bit more usability for its super, because when it hits a unit, it charges its super. It only needs 4 energy to throw off its spear. So maybe make it so that you get that a little bit more quicker, but I think the energy should stay at 4, but maybe increase her attack speed a little bit and her base HP so she survives a little bit longer. And I think that might be okay for her, and she might become partly meta but not super overpowered. Next up is the Giant Skeleton. The Giant Skeleton's death bomb damage was a huge nerf to it. It's really only viable with Archer Queen and sometimes Royal Champion, but I would suggest increasing the Giant Skeleton's base attack speed to 0.45 rather than having it be 0.35. It doesn't have a super, so it really would just get a little bit more damage off during its lifetime, making it a little bit more viable, because it does take 2 seconds for that bomb to go off after death, and by the time that happens, their units are either probably out of the bomb already or onto another unit and have already dealt a pretty good amount of damage. And I think having that Giant Skeleton attack speed increase would make up a little bit more for that time, and might be able to tweak it a little bit more. So I think having that base attack speed increased is probably going to help the Giant Skeleton feel a little bit more usable, I guess, outside of the death bomb. Next up, the Bowler. The Bowler took a... Next up, we have the Bowler. I think the Bowler's base hit points should be increased from 6 to 7. I think 6 is a little bit too low for a 3 elixir. Again, we're talking about like the Valkyrie, for example. Her current base HP is 8. I want it to be 10. And the Bowler, its current base HP is 6. I think it should be 7 for a little bit, to make it a little bit more sustainable, because you want people to want to prioritize a Bowler in certain situations, and right now with a low base HP, it doesn't feel like you can really do that. And even when you upgrade it to 1-star and you get the strike ability to become a super, it still doesn't have the HP to sustain. So I think its base HP should increase a little bit, and see if that makes the Bowler feel a little bit more usable. Next up is the Electro Wizard. The Electro Wizard got nerfed to Oblivion, which is fine because it was literally in every single deck before the balance change. I really think you could not win with the Electro Wizard unless you had insane hero level difference. So it got nerfed pretty hard, but I think its base attack speed should be increased to 0.7 from 0.6, and that's it. Don't change its abilities. I think its abilities are perfectly fine the way it is. But it only takes 4 energy to charge, so that's fine. But I think its base attack speed should be increased just a little bit, so that way it charges its super a little bit quicker and can feel a little bit more viable, but not insane like it was in the previous meta. And then the last change that I have to suggest is for the Miner. The Miner's base attack speed should be decreased to 0.65 from 0.8. Right now it is 0.8. and the ability you get with the miner is insane. I've been playing a lot of matches, and I'm having a very, very difficult time dealing with the miner. Unless you're playing a Barbarian King, you're going to struggle against miner, hands down, period. I feel like there are ways to counter it, and I feel like every time I do it, my troop pathing, my units that I put in the back to try to catch the miner, they just go to the front line anyway, and then the miner attacks my Royal Champion, Archer Queen, Archer, Wizard, Dark Goblin, whatever it might be, and it's a big feels bad. So I think its base attack speed should be decreased so that there's a little bit more survivability on your backline units to be able to make a change and not have that miner be so dominant. That's my current suggestion for it. I think that might make it feel a little bit better, but I don't think it would completely nerf miner to oblivion, because there are strategies that you can use with the miner, and I think the miner is a healthy card for the game. I think it's just too strong right now, and it needs to be toned down just a little bit so that attack speed might do that. So that is going to do it for my balance change wish list. I didn't overwhelm things. I didn't want to change like every single mini in the game. There are probably some different things, but I think those will be included in my ability change wish list. Supercell has already talked about changing abilities at season reset for certain minis, not all minis, certain minis, and I think changing those abilities would probably shake up the meta a bit more and probably make some other units that I might not have covered on this list a lot more viable because of their ability change. So I'm going to have an ability change wish list again in a future video, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss that video and any other videos around Clash Mini. But I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you all for watching, and I'll talk to y'all in the next one. Have a great night, everybody. We'll see you later. Peace out.